Hey everybody, welcome back to the Spin Rack. This is Mars here. I'm here with my boy Petey. Say what's up, Petey?
Hey, what's going on, y'all?
Hey, today we're going to be talking about The Acolyte. Yes, the finale, the last two episodes of The Acolyte, 7 and 8.
Yeah.
And
We're
our thoughts on
continuing
them.
our discussion that we already started. This is the second part 2.
So, what do you think about the second part?
No, I mean, this is the second part of our thing. We're doing those 2 episodes, but we have one up that people hopefully have watched, but we're continuing. Okay?
Okay.
So, in this, what's the name? The episode 7 was a backstory episode, and basically they tell you what actually happened, which of the Jedi massacred the Coven, and their bad singing, and their what do they? Someone called it a off-Broadway singing. But anyway, ultimately, I thought it was a weak episode because everyone was soft in their reactions, and no one had any convictions. It was all innuendo. Oh, and they also almost retconned what we saw before. Excuse me. So ultimately, that's how I felt. Well, you go.
I clearly felt totally different about that because I thought the episode was pretty good. It was very informative. It showed a different side of what was going on. I mean, because we always look at things from one person's point of view, and that's the key thing in this whole story. You're seeing it from one point of view, right? And so when you see the other point of view, you start realizing, oh, there's more to this than we initially thought, a lot more. And of course, as we see how the other characters reacted from Indira, what's her name? The main character, her name, the one who died from the Matrix.
You're talking about
Carrie-Anne Moss.
Carrie-Anne Moss.
Carrie-Anne Moss. You know, her character, when her character passed away, we were like, oh my gosh.
Killed. Though you don't pass away, just got killed.
Right, when she got killed, we were like, oh my goodness, what happened? How could she possibly die? It couldn't be her, you know what I'm trying to say? But yeah, Indara was her name. So when Indara died, you know, you're like, how could she lose? She just was so good. And you could see the little bit of doubt. So one thing the story is telling us here is that, you know what, they were not all good. You know, the Jedi did things that they shouldn't have done. They were actually ordered to get away, to leave them as is, but yet they insisted on continuing and doing what they're doing. And Soul was the main I guess protagonist in this whole thing, or the person who pushed it forward. I definitely, you know, I guess the way PD characterizes it as soft, I kind of understand what he's saying. He's saying that there's no, I guess, no solid drive, but I think as a background episode, it helped to bring out the characters and understanding why it happened. We needed this, you know. This has been a mystery that we've been trying to unravel, and little by little we've been unraveling. Why did Master Tobin just give up? Why did Kalnaka go and hide in a forest world all by himself? This all happened because of the actions that they took on Bendak, the world. So I was all for it. I think it's cool.
I can't agree with you. The idea of saying something is soft is saying, and George Lucas talked about Obi-Wan and Vader having their final confrontation when Vader his first name was Darth, last name Vader, when he wasn't Anakin Skywalker. The idea that Darth Vader, you know, was seduced and then he killed the Jedi, one being Anakin, and that led Obi-Wan to pick him up, and he said it somewhere long ago, and toss him into a volcano. And what was left got poured into the soup, right? That's someone being upset about what this person did and taking action. This is, hey, someone's turning into a monster. I don't know what it is. And then when he does the sight, he's like, oh, I shouldn't have done it. I did it too soon. Carrie-Anne Moss takes out all these people. Oh, I had to save this other guy, but at the same time, I have to, I killed all these other people. So it's just kind of having the thing, something you see in the X-Men comic book where it was just like people doing things for soft reasons, or someone did something, or misunderstanding. And the misunderstandings are not the best thing. If you look at, and I always have to use Courage Under Fire, if you look at that was a revealing story. Everyone's reactions, even the softer characters, Lou Diamond Phillips is the harder character. He's the one who's mutinous. The other characters are like we should kind of go with him. We're not sure you're going to make it, and we have to make a decision if we're going to leave or not. So it was like, that's why the other characters, but one is on one side, their leader saying, no, we stay, because if we leave, then the other people, it might lose more troops later. So we're going to stay and hold our position. So that's what I'm saying. You have two opposite sides of this one thing, of someone doing something bad and some characters not doing bad. So you could have that, but the Jedi kind of all fall in line. And the hard part is, this is just to give you your bad guy in Saul, but a kind of a reluctant bad guy. He did some things, but we know he's going to pay for it. So I have to disagree. It was what I expected it to be. I expected it to be misunderstanding. Even the girl, even what's the name? Was it May? May is like, she was burning. She's like, what if I kill you? Then she closes it, locks her in, and then when we see what looked like it was shot differently the first time, oh, now she just drops it by mistake when she was planning on burning her anyway. So it was like she was planning on burning her, and then now we got it, oh, I dropped it. Like, what do you think she had the thing in her hand for? But then they turn it into a softer reaction, and then they didn't have, well, that goes into the next episode. But for me, we just have to be in disagreement on that one.
Yeah, but I think that, I think you're using May as a bad example, because May is a child. She made a mistake. There was no intention to kill anybody. It got out of hand. It was an accident, and so that's what happened. If you consider that as soft, then that's one thing. But I don't think that has.
You say you're going to kill somebody? Because I'm only cutting you off because you said you're going to be on my. She said she was going to say, "What if not if I kill you, lock you in, and then take the fire out to start the fire, but then drops it by mistake." But she was planning on starting the fire. She wasn't in her mind. Her plan was to start the fire. Now to do the scene where she drops it by mistake is just for the audience to say, oh, she didn't mean to do it. So I hear you that a kid can make a mistake and start somewhere, but then they tried to soften it by have her drop it instead of, let's say, the part of saying she wanted to kill her and locking her in and putting her into a dangerous situation. That's the harder part for me when you look at it. I understand the kids thing. They've done some great stuff between the girls in that episode. But when it got to the kill, I think the joke was like, hey, that turned pretty quickly. That's the thing that was kind of worked for me. And then they kind of took it away. And it's a jump to the next episode.
No, before you jump to the next episode, let's talk about the Kelnaka situation. Okay, where the witches all possess Kelnaka, and then they all end up, Indara is able to go in there and stop them, and in doing so ends up killing all the witches, I guess psychically, right? Or through the use of the Force.
They're in sort of some short circuit thing where they're all connected, and when she whacks it out, she whacks out the whole thing. So she obviously didn't plan on whacking it out, but she wanted to break that circuit, break the circuit between them, and then breaking the circuit that broke the whole network. Now, they should be a little more skilled to be able to handle it, but they wanted to have all those people dead and try to explain what happened. So Carrie-Anne Moss has a reason to die because she did kill the rest of the coven.
Well, you think it's because she killed, if she could have accidentally, if that could have happened accidentally, but I think probably the bigger thing is that they covered it up and she lied and blamed it on May's fire, right? I think to me, the lie is really the big issue here, not so much that, hey, while they were trying to save Kelnaka, that's it. And I think it's legitimate. If you're trying to save one of your friends, if I'm trying to save you and there's other people holding your mind and I'm able to break it out and those people die, I'm like, hey, that's just the way it happens, right? You can't say, oh my gosh, I killed this guy and I feel so bad. I don't have that same feeling with Indara. I think Saul would have been hand-wringing, and clearly Tobin and Kelnaka had that whole issue, but I think Indara's like, look, we're just going forward. This is what happened. And that's what she said. This is what happened. We're going to rock. This is the story we're going to have. We're going to rock with the story going forward. And that was it, And so I'm cool with that.
I would say to that, the important part that you bring up is Hollywood. There's big things in Hollywood. Revenge is that you have to get revenge, and that means kill and/or revenge in the death of the person that wronged you or did something wrong to you, and lies. You cannot lie in the movie, especially good guys cannot lie.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing.
I
If
agree.
you lie in a story, whereas at the same time, sorry, excuse me, a parent could say, the thing is, in real life, I asked my father for Lego, right? And my father got me for Christmas. My father got me a ton of things. And at the same time, that's a stage where if you show you're ungrateful, like, but I didn't get the Lego, you might not get Christmas next year, right? That's the rule. But the way they would portray that on TV is that I had one thing, and my father said he was going to get it for me, and he got me ColecoVision, a bicycle, all this other stuff, and Hollywood would be like, "But you didn't get him that one thing he wanted."
Or you're just
And-
ungrateful as hell. What
But
about
that's
that?
the thing is that in life, there are things where, what's the name? He's asking me to do something. I say I'm going to do it, and I don't do it. And at some point, he understands that I didn't do it sometime.
Don't understand at all.
But that's the thing. But you don't. It doesn't color the relationship. So that's the hard part for me, because you're making the lie like. And I understand in Hollywood, that's the thing. A writer said you're not supposed to lie. The narrator is not supposed
Right.
to lie. The omniscient narrator, who's not a character, but no, is a character, because sometimes the narrators are the characters in there. They say, no, but that's omniscient narrator. He's not supposed to lie. Not if it's not if it's Kaiser Soze telling the story. Why can't he? But they say, no, that's not what you're supposed to do. But at the same time, it's revolutionary when you do it, when it's a bad guy. So I just don't like playing up these things of revenge. And we're going to get to that to the next episode.
But like you just said, revenge is the bread and butter of Hollywood, bro.
It's not, we're getting to this thing where.
But hold on, isn't that the whole thing why May came back? May came back to kill all these people because she felt that they killed her people. That's the basis of this whole thing. And the mystery is, why did she feel that way, right?
May isn't coming back to do that. May is coming back because Khmer was faking as sort of
A Sith?
a guile of the Sith master, like some sort of guile type of person who's kind of like, hey, your master, blah blah. They put out this note. Maybe you can do it without touching, kill a Jedi without touching them, type of thing. So it was like he was the one who was the person behind May, because she had all this time to do this, but she, at this point in her life, has decided that she wanted revenge when she already had the Jedi power. But obviously, and they don't set up how long they were together. So it's just like, what, he met her and he decided that, or was it soon after? We don't know about Khmer, so maybe there's some pieces of the puzzle, but they never kind of pick up the baton and say he gets what's the name, and he immediately finds May and kind of develops her into, well, he should have two acolytes, But anyway, I think we kind of covered as much as we can about this episode, because we both were on the other side of the fence. It did not work for me at all. It was a sad thing, and they had some things, interesting things we needed to see. What are these ghost force things like, and what do they do? Nope. Ooh, I made a mistake. So I wanted to find out about whatever the ghost force stuff was. It's like the engineers in Prometheus. We got something new. Who cares about just someone throwing around lightsabers and whatnot? If it's a ghost, I don't get how, she only partially. So we got to move on this episode. The Coven, the thing that could have made them interesting, we lost them already. And we'll find out later. When they're showing you the romance, the Twilight of the Sith, and the 50 Shades of the Sith, we're going to get into all of that. So let's get to the next episode. We don't got much time.
I've got to say, one of the
We're not going to get out of this episode.
One of the best.
He's not going to let us get out.
One of the best. No, in episode 8, one of the best lightsaber battles that they've choreographed on TV and in movies was the battle between Khmer and Soul. I thought it was fantastic. They did a great job of bringing that out. That alone.
Why didn't Soul fight that good in episodes 6?
Well, I guess it's a different thing.
Or
Sometimes
5, episode 5.
It was a shock. I mean, the question is, how did Khmer fight so good? Either those Jedi Knights were not that good, or
Soul was
really
in
is
that fight.
or Soul is really that good. Well, Soul survived. He's a Soul survivor, right? So Soul made it. So
Wow.
right. So we clearly see he has skills, but Khmer in this battle shows that he's not as strong as Soul. Soul bested him at several points, But I gotta say, Khmer, if he's the Sith, bro, he is off the chain. And this is the whole thing. This
He
thing was
just
supposed
set
to
up
be
to be cool. That's all he set up to be.
So look, the whole point, they said that this, how they've been following Jedis and stuff like that. Not Lucasfilm, but Disney was basically saying that they're going to start following
Don't say they're following any books.
the Sith. They're going to follow the Sith. So this is going to be more of a Sith episode, series. But we didn't really get that. We get like some type of weird development between May and Osha, as opposed to, again, there's so much more stories in the books we could have done, but we're not going to go there. I'm saying, but Khmer was a really, really strong character and someone that they could have continued to develop.
I can't agree that he was extremely
Charismatic.
KEWL cool character.
KEWL.
Cool.
No, cool spelled COLL.
No, the way you say it oh, come on. Now you're really pushing it. They're trying to say, hey, we like the idea of your Magnetos or whoever it is, or your Rogue, these characters that go through something phony like Magneto and somehow come on the other end kind of with a good reason why.
But Petey, I gotta cut you off. But that was the whole basis of the story. It was supposed to be taking it from the Sith point of view, right? So if he's the protagonist, or is he one of the protagonists I don't know if it's the antagonist.
Sorry, you go.
He's supposed to be there. That's what I'm trying to say. When they first mooted it, that's what they were supposed to do. So,
Okay, I'm saying to you like this. We've turned it into black and white. The Jedis are these monks, and that's when you've heard Cal be on the side of saying, hey, they're supposed to be good guys, they're trained, you should be able to weed out the negativity while you're doing the monk stuff. Now we have the Sith, who aren't actually bad guys. They're these tortured souls that kind of be forced into the dark side, rather than people who are just, okay.
I disagree. I think there's a difference.
Which one?
Have
which one hasn't been tortured?
The Jedi. So the whole premise in a lot of these shows lately that they're showing is that neither one being totally light, the Jedi being totally controlled and cut off from your emotions doesn't help you because it separates you from the rest of the people, and being totally run by your emotions.
What people are being cut off from?
The monks. Remember, they cut themselves off from their entire families. They don't have connections. They don't get married. They don't have children, right? Because you have to focus and be in control of the Force at all times. Whereas the Sith are like, yo, bro, what I want, I take. Whatever my emotions are, I want to do. And of course, the most ambitious of us are going to do whatever is possible to get to the top. So they're saying both of them are not necessarily a good thing. You need to have something more of a blend where you are, yes, you can have some emotion, but you have to have control. And that's the difference between the two of them. Where the Sith, there's no question. We can do whatever the hell. And the reason they have only two is because they can't trust each other to have more. They'll just go at it. The two alone have problems. Look at the Emperor and Vader. The rule of two is the rule of two. That's why you have a master and an apprentice, right? Right? You have the master and the Padawan. Whereas the Jedi can get along, they can work in a structure. The Sith don't. They continually fight one another. And so that's why you just limit it. And you also keep the secret of what's going on.
Okay. So when they're training these young Jedi, the Padawans, they don't have a master, right? They're just
They have
Padawans.
teachers. They have teachers who are teaching them.
They have one teacher.
They have different teachers for different things. Think of it like they're students like Harry Potter. You go to different teachers to learn the skill and to be a Jedi.
If I hear this master come in twos, this is the most literalization of the most basic thing of having a mentor. Having a mentor means you could do that and then you move on to the next thing. Like they turned it into 1 to 2, 1 to 2. Like you can't, it's just too much. It's too heavy-handed.
Think of it like knight and squire, right? You have a knight and then the
But
knight
they're not saying, hey,
they literally say a Jedi Knight. They literally say call it a Jedi
I'm
Knight.
saying that, but they're not, the squire doesn't say there's a rule of 2. A knight and a squire. Yes, it's the it's the most basic thing that you could say. It's nothing needed. You don't need to say it. They come in twos. So who was the master for Darth Maul? We don't know.
Of course, we know who the master is. No, but I'm saying because
I'm saying we know, but the way Yoda was talking about it was like
Right.
making this big deal about. I don't know why he has a mentor. He was fighting two guys at once, but I guess he did. And everyone who's, I don't know.
So look, we saw Darth Plagueis, right? And we see him on the planet before the.
But how do we know who he is? He just looked like a monster, Darth Monster.
But I'm saying that we know. So Darth Plagueis, right? He's supposed to be
Darth
the
Plagueis.
He will be the person who teaches Palpatine to become, who he is. But the point of the matter is that Khmer is there. Palpatine I think it's too soon for Palpatine. I'm not sure about the timeline, but I think it's definitely too soon for him. And then you have Osha. So is he teaching? Is Khmer the master? Clearly not. If you have Darth Plagueis, is Plagueis Khmer's master? Normally, so what is it? The rule of three? I don't know what they're doing. So that to me is
Rule
where
of three now.
I think there is no rule of three. I'm just throwing that out. So we're totally confused as to what's happening. And I think this is the problem with some shows that we see where people assume there's going to be a second season. And they're like, hey, let's put some breadcrumbs so that we can have another season.
Yeah.
The problem is, nothing is promised. So if you don't put enough breadcrumbs in there, if you don't explain what's going on, people are going to say, who cares? It's just a dangling thread. I don't think that's what's going to happen because Dave Filoni is the one who oversaw this. So people may complain about it, but he gave the okay since he's the chief creative officer.
He's the one to blame now.
Well, so he gave the okay, and so the very fact that it happened, that means this is some type of storyline that he wants to continue to perpetrate. And we see this in some of the characters that he developed in like the Clone Wars. The what do you call those guys again? You have Darth Maul's people. The witches, those witches. So that's a whole nother witches. Then you have the guys the guys that they brought in. They're not. You have some that are good, not bad, just different. I'm just saying that you have that big monster. I forget what it is on Star Wars Rebels. Which is on the Bendu. Who's like, hey, the Jedi and the Sith. The point of the matter is there's more of a gray area, and I think he's trying to develop that nothing is strictly all black and all white.
Okay,
right?
So let's get to this episode, right? We have Khmer who turned to Osha and said, hey, you could leave, while they were doing all their 50 Shades of Sith and their Twilight of the Sith. So you could leave. This episode is like, hey, if we get back in time, we can stop May. And he's like, on what? What are you going to try? How are you going to get there? It's like you just said she could just swim and go to the ship whenever he wanted to. Now he's saying he can't use the ship. Then, of course, what do? They go use the ship. So at the same time,
So wait, isn't that the typical tactic that a pimp gets? He says, "Yo, I'll give you whatever you want. Come into the house. You can have whatever juice. You can go anywhere you want. Take it." But as soon as he got you, he's like, "No, you stay here now."
But they're
That's
not
what he's trying
talking
to
to him like they treat him like he's, yes, it is
Right,
the thing
and
of
so-
saying, hey, you can go, hey, here, try this helmet.
And so-
try this helmet out.
But the
This
helmet
is-
showed us how
And we
powerful
also
she
saw
really is.
that she also was able to possess Khmer
Yeah.
when she had the helmet on. Then she's like, we can stop what's her name. At the same time, somehow, May gets free because she's turned Pip into a bad character, so she's Pip.
Is
Free.
Pip, I don't know if it's bad. Is Pip is a bad character? Or
She
Pip
Pip went to the dark side. Any robot can be turned to the dark side now.
and there I have to say there's an issue where
You have to say you agree.
I'm going to agree with you that. I don't know. The whole Pip situation is, is it that easy just to reprogram your thing? First of all, Osha is supposed to be a technician, right? She goes on these ships and she fixes things, so you figure she has a particular skill set. All of a sudden, May shows up and she takes over the role of Osha for a time being, and then she starts doing all these things. The only reason I can understand why it's able and possible is that what Soul's been saying for a minute. that they're not really two; they're the same.
That
So
that is the
it does-
mother. That is the mother of coincidence to everything in there. Why they don't act any different? All of the stuff. But
Or
they were
look
two
any
di-
different.
But they were two different girls.
They were two
You-
different girls.
The little girls. There were two different girls.
I can't say.
You couldn't tell the difference. All black girls look the same.
Oh my God! I
He
know.
walked right into it. He walked right into it. That's what you're trying to say? They were clearly, are you going to say it again for the camera? Did they look different to you? You could just, it's on you. I mean, like, hey.
So was the main actress? Was that wasn't two different people? The main actress was the same girl.
I said the little girls.
And I'm saying the main actress, and that's where I'm going. I'm going to fight that battle to the very end.
Okay, so then at this point they go there. Then they have this fight with Soul, and Soul is showing, and Sal seemed to pick up the tricks that Khmer had. He's able to do the Jedi wind blow, the Kazi no Ho, the Hayaku, and the wind blows and blows him away, and he's able to do all this cool stuff. But then of course May gets her to say no. Then May and Osha have a fight. Then they make up, and then she says I shouldn't have started the fire when Osha said, you shouldn't have locked me in the thing to die. You said you're going to kill me, you locked me, and then you left me no options when you made it. But I didn't mean to burn a fire. But you don't lock me in there to try to keep me in there, didn't set a fire on it. That's what you did, and you're not paying. But of course, they made her pay because then they wipe her mind out. But anyway, May gets Soul.
Wait. We got to talk about the wiping of the mind.
No, we're going to get to that later. May gets Soul to say, yes, I did it. I killed your mother. And then what's the name? Stop talking. Stop talking. Oh, and then what's the name saying? She killed without touching. Like, it's a Jedi, but you want to say why he died. When he has Jedi powers, why couldn't he fight? Why couldn't he push back against Osha when she was killing him?
He felt guilty. I mean, look, he felt guilty. He felt they took on Osha after May and everybody else had died. He took on Osha because she had a connection with Soul, right? And Soul made her his Padawan. Soul wanted to train, but she could never express her Force abilities because she kept on having like this whole thing, a block as to what was going on. So she was just like a regular person.
What, like
That's why
Veers?
That's why she left.
Like
That's why
Veers?
That's why she washed out of the Jedi Academy. That's why she washed out, and that's why she was a.
Do you remember Captain Marvel, Veers?
Yes, I remember.
Remember that she couldn't connect and she kept messing up?
Yes.
And then she let loose just like this?
Yes, I did.
Hey, it seems like we're going for a trend here.
Continuing. So, like I said, Soul is, that's why he gives up. But it was so obvious that she was getting information out of him. I would have said, like, what are you trying to say? But he felt so
Yeah.
guilty, and so he did it. But it's also interesting that Venestra, I think it's Venestra, Jedi Master Venestra, she blames the whole thing on him being a rogue Jedi, basically killing everybody and
Talking
saying,
about the green lady?
The green lady. So yeah.
All right, we've got the leader in this thing, right? The Jedi, she's like the Hulk villain, the leader.
She's not the Hulk villain. She's like one of the top
Okay,
Jedi
so the
masters.
problem here is that if they give us Khmer the same sort of tortured thing that he failed, because they had a shot in there where they say, oh, with Yord. And when he just slapped around Yord, but it's just like you, so Yord recognized him. So ultimately we had to find out how he went bad. And like we're never gonna get the Vader of old.
You mean Indara recognized him and that he was a Padawan, right?
No, she did early. If you see the fight, there's a moment in there. I watched it again, and they have fun with his fighting Yord, and he looks at him like you, and he's like when he knocks off the mask, and then he's like, oh, and he says something snarky, and then he starts kicking the rest of the Jedi. The thing is, I understand that whoever it is, the females that are watching this, y'all like it, this, that, and the other. It's a trick. He killed good Jedi, not all the bad ones. He killed like 6 good guys. And Cal Naka didn't do anything on that trip. Only thing he built a lie, that's why he had to die. But he killed some innocent Jedi, and now we're gonna be okay with this love story, right? So they kill Saul, what's the name has a wiped mind May, so May can go to jail, but of course they're gonna rehabilitate her because, ooh, her mind is wiped. She paid for what she did.
So,
the
so
murders.
this is one of the
You're
issues
gonna
I have.
explain to me the mind
why
wipe.
why the mind wipe? I don't understand. I mean,
Oh, you're against it? Yes. He said it. Why?
Why the mind wipe? Why didn't she just go with them? What, do they think they're going to be hunting them down? She could have gone with
It's
her
going to
sister.
cost too much money for the two of them to be in every scene all the time, high-fiving when they could have more power. The whole thing the Coven was the two. The whole thing they were saying was two. So wouldn't having the both of them together mean more? They were whole buildup of the Coven was that these two girls. That's why they're being coronated at the same time. Now having them a Sith, wouldn't that even be better?
I don't know. I'm just confused. That's all I got.
And he does the hot potato. No, he does what's the shell game of Sith acolytes. Hey, we got one sister. We just switched for the other.
It was too seamless of a switch. Yes. It was like, yo, they didn't skip a beat. The only and probably one of that little creature, the tracker.
Tracker failed us.
Yeah, the tracker first was tracking her, and he realized that the May was
Immediately.
bad, and then all of a sudden he flips to Osha's side. I mean,
He helps her when they're in the ship.
So you're like,
They're about to catch May, and he said, "No, I gotta destroy the thing." They could have died. How can was it? He said Aldana. How did she short circuits the whole Coven? He pulls out a couple wires. They safely land on the what's name. He could have died in what he did. Like, they don't understand the logic of how, like, I get. They expect us to accept one thing, and then he's like, I'll just pull some wires. For what reason? What reason? Oh, he heard the story. We don't know what he understands. He's just sniffing around, pointing out people, and he can't find May now. He already recognized her immediately. Anyway, sorry, I got on a tirade. So it was a bad ending, right? We're ending this thing out.
Look,
bad ending with the mind
so let's
wipe
rewind it. So
and the
I
hand
think,
holding.
I
with
think
the,
overall, I think I would give it a B minus, a C, let's say a C plus. I would not give it. It's definitely not one of the best shows there, Star Wars. But I'm still intrigued. I'm a big Star Wars fan. I want to see where they're going to go. I would hope that it gets a second season. I think realistically it may not, because there was just so much pushback because of a whole bunch of different things, from stuff in the production, to how it was treated. This is the thing I think we got to remember, and I don't know how many times I've got to say this over and over. I think you have to respect the material, and also you have to respect your audience. If you can't do that, it's going to be very, very hard. I think I quoted a figure to you where they said the average Star Wars fan is about 50 years old, right, and male. Oof, and so when you look at when you look at the numbers, they want
the audience.
They want to grow the franchise.
Audience.
So
yeah.
What has Star Wars done? They started the High Republic. This is an era where they can do whatever they want. The Old Republic, there's a whole series of games, and then there are books on that. And then you have the same.
Well, why can't they do stuff on that? That looked like it was fun.
They did the prequel. They did the sequels, and the sequels also are a bit tangent, but somewhat in line. And so what they're trying to do is change the world up to try to get more younger. The sequels that we saw ended up starting good, but turned out to be a disaster at the very end. In the way they treated the lore and the history of Star Wars. And the same thing with High Republic. If you're not going to treat it with the respect with the existing lore that people have, you're going to lose people. And we saw this with Marvel, where they just willy-nilly just started doing anything in any show and changing up all these things, and people who read these stories were turned off. And it didn't bring in any new ones. So what I'm trying to say is, please be respectful. And I think it'll be much more successful. Okay?
You had some other point about the lightsaber, didn't you?
Yeah, I thought that was one of the best choreographed lightsaber battles.
No, you said the choreograph, but you had something about the changing of the color.
Yeah, she was able to change the color because she was going to become a Sith. But you never see, the Sith is red, right? And so that's why it becomes a red. She's changed because of her anger. She changed the soul lightsaber to red. But the problem I've had is, like, it kind of reminds me of the transition of Dany from Game of Thrones. It happened too swift. Like, how did she make that big
from such a person that was very nice?
And she seemed very nice still. You see what I'm trying to say?
Extremely nice and very humble.
Exactly.
And then to kind of buy into this guy who, in this episode where Khmer is killing all the innocent Jedi, she has that look
with her
Right.
friends. Her best friends is getting
Yeah,
killed.
friends too, but she still got that look like,
Yeah.
oh, but she doesn't know who this guy can teach her. She don't know that she might die because she's not. May is with what's her name, but anyway, we got to close this one out.
No, but I liked it. You know what I'm trying to say? There were certain elements
Which
that were pretty good.
episodes did you like?
I think I liked a lot of the battles, the fights that they had. They were pretty good. I liked the very fact that there was a
Lord.
mystery.
It was a
I
bad
didn't-
mystery.
I didn't think the actress was bad. Probably the direction was off. But I think
The
that
actress was bad because the characters weren't dissimilar. It wasn't. There wasn't any big differences where you could point out outside of the clothing. And since they used two different girls when they were growing up, then I can't buy into now that they're not some sort of differences in these twins.
well, if that's the case, that it was a bad choice. But I go back even more to a much more fundamental situation where you just pointed out that they aren't too similar. They're very similar. And the question, though, is, are they similar because they're the same person and that was the intention? They're the same person, so that they do everything the same, or is it because they just made a mistake? You know, are twins that similar? I think not. I think that you have to give them. They've been apart for how many years? So they've developed their own personalities. They've developed their own likes. You know, yes, they're
have
gonna be
they?
similar.
It doesn't seem like they have.
No, but I'm saying similarities would have been the same, and that's it. You know, so like for example, the first one should have been more like Khmer was probably trying to get with her, and she said, man, please. While the second one's like, oh, Khmer, you were really the guy. You know what I'm trying to say? But in her transition to becoming a Sith, or she should have changed a little bit much more. I'm not saying she has to be evil. I'm just saying she should have been a little bit more dramatic as to how she's like, you know what, I'm going to be me now. I'm going to show everybody who I am, you know, which if you watched, what's the name of that show that would be perfect? Frozen, where she comes into her power and she's like, yo, I'll be me, or something like that, where she's like, you know, I'm tired of hiding. I'm going to show who I am. And that's what she should have done. Because remember, she didn't have the power. And now that she's finally embracing it, she should be able to do what she has to do, you know.
All right, so let's close this out.
So overall, we agreed the show was not
Terrible.
We agreed the show did have some challenges.
Watch Tales of the Sith, the animated thing. I can enjoy that way more than this.
So, once again, Petey and I have a divergence of opinion. Watch it and see what you like. Spinner rack.
Out.